Good morning. My name is Weekly Shonen, and we don't have any One Piece this week to cover, but we have One Piece representation in my totally filled with coffee mug. Fortunately, we do have some really good chapters to cover, so let's get right into it, starting off with Jujutsu Kaisen 175. So unfortunately, things are not looking good for Yuta, and well, I think he'll be okay in the end, but it's just not going as easy as I hoped or as I predicted. I think once we saw that cleaver, I was a little worried that this fight would drag out, a couple chapters, like maybe the cleaver would be a thing. Luckily, that wasn't the case. That was the first thing Yuta actually got rid of, which, that's good. The second thing he did after cutting off the cleaver is when he noticed he was being watched and decides, I'm not going to use reverse curse technique, and I'm going to make sure that the two players who are watching me right now don't get to see any of my moves, which is, experienced as hell. You would think that he's, trained in the culling game, only. But no, that's just what being the second most powerful sorcerer would do to you. Is that Kitty? You trying to get in here? Or are you just playing with your toy? By the way, we have a cat now. What was I saying? Yeah, so Yuta is, smart enough to know that he can't really show his cards or show his hand because, he's got two people watching him, two more fights that he's going to have to get into. So it'd be best, especially as a sorcerer, that's like the rules of the sorcery is like once you kind of know the person's technique, you're pretty much good. And so he realizes that, and he's like, well, no reverse curse technique for me. And, it sucks because he ends up needing to use it in the end, which goes to show, like, maybe he can't nerf himself too much. He might be really powerful and all, but, even he has his limits as to, what he could do with a couple of hands tied behind his back, which is reasonable. The chapter ends with Yuta being pulled into a dimension or a different version of the sky. I don't know. I know that Udo's box mentioned that she can control the sky or control the air. So I'm assuming it's an air thing, or maybe it's like a vacuum, like an air vacuum. Not too sure, but hopefully, since her box did mention that she's affiliated with To, don't know what that is, but apparently a very important group, it seems, in the Jujutsu Sorcerer world. So hopefully we get some insight. Hopefully we get like some Jujutsu Kaisen lore. That'd be awesome. Maybe she has some beef with Yuta. Maybe she knows something about his family. Maybe there's something there that we can get, because other than that, it's just gonna be him scrapping and just dealing his hand and washing everybody. But I think, at the end of the day, this might be a good thing for him, getting pulled into a different dimension, because if Ryu, which is the third person, I'm remembering their names this week, you see? I'm doing my research. So if Ryu's there and he can't see anything, right? I'm still assuming that they're talking to each other, because just the way that the dialogue boxes have been, I'm thinking that they're relaying information to each other. Might not be the case. I might still be reading that wrong, and then that would knock off my point for paying attention to detail. But if that's the case, then, this whole theory I've got is wiped away. But if it's not the case, then that means that Yuta can kind of go all out in this little dimension of Udo's, and then come right back out, and Ryu would not be the wiser as to how his technique works. Now, one thing I found odd during this chapter was the quotes around Rika every time Yuta mentions her, because I know in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, I've read it already. I'm waiting for the movie to drop in the US. So I know that she kind of gets released, the original Rika, and we also know that Yuta is the number one copycat sorcerer, so he should have been able to make a copy of her technique or something. Maybe there's something else there that we need, but it's very confusing as to how he still has her and how he's still the top sorcerer without her, because she has limitless curse technique, or cursed energy, So I don't know what this means for his character, but I feel like the section that's being focused on Yuta will probably give us an explanation as to what his powers really are, because in the beginning you do have the introduction to this section of Sendai, which is like everything's in a stalemate. Yuta's here. He broke the stalemate with his very first move, but also in that same like last like the last page of that chapter, I think it was 173, you get Yuta's second to only Gojo, and he has a weird technique or an odd technique. I forget what the phrasing was there, but so it starts off with that, right? And then the last chapter we get, hey, two people trying to see what his technique is, and then this chapter we get, I definitely cannot show them my technique, right? Can't show them anything about me. So it just makes me think that this arc will be about actually explaining to him or explaining to the audience what his technique is. And maybe that's forcefully, maybe he has to go all out, or maybe, we just get some context while he's just using it, or we get some inner monologue or some flashbacks or something like that. But I feel like we have to know a little bit more about his technique after this, because you can't just be going around without, what's it called? Heavenly restriction. A gifted body like Toji, but not be Toji. He doesn't have that. That's not what he is. He has an actual technique. So we have to see what the hell that's about. Man, that's all I've got for this section. Onward to My Hero 344, right? Let's get to it. So the Phantom Thief is back, and I didn't even think about that shot last week, this one right here. I assumed that was Shirakumo, which, damn it, I'm not paying attention as much as I should. But I just assumed that by AFO's reaction, he was just like, oh, you've switched sides, or like, oh, they've done something to you. Because the way that he phrased it, it wasn't like, oh, they did away with Kurosushi, or what is it? Kurogiri, sorry, not Kurotsuchi. Like, he didn't phrase it in a way like, he knew that they did away with him. He was kind of just like, oh. So it didn't even make me think about looking at it again. I was just like, oh, okay. They got Shirakumo, but that was not the case at all. And so, good surprise, very pleasant surprise. But I'll get right to them. I'll save that boy over there for last. Let me get into a couple of other things first that I liked about this chapter. The whole part with Aoyama's family lying to AFO kind of threw me the wrong way, because I didn't even think that they were lying. Like, he was talking about getting some wine. Why would they need to lie about that? And yeah, they didn't get the wine for him, but it's such a small lie. I don't like it. I feel like it kind of took the wind out of the sails for this whole Shinzo reveal here, because I am very hyped about him. I am very hyped about him having the power to make people talk now. It's a cool upgrade, and it makes me think he's going to become even more of a part in this final war, because we do have Aizawa, who cannot participate in the war anymore. It confirmed he does not have his quirk anymore, or he can't use his quirk, and he just won't be on the battlefield. He'll just be playing the sidelines, which he's done pretty well so far, right? He's kind of orchestrated two people to use their quirks in a way that have, dealt a really good first blow, or like a really good entrance to the war. So Aizawa was still playing a part, just like All Might and Detective, whose name I keep forgetting. But like, just like they're playing the sidelines, but they're still having a great impact, which is nice. But yeah, I just didn't like this whole reveal. Like, I didn't like the way that it happened, because it was so small. It was such a small lie that it makes you think like, ooh, were they just testing it? No, they weren't. I would assume that they'd put these people on a polygraph before, they try to lie to AFO or try to use this whole technique on AFO. But it was just like such a weird lie. And I get it, like the shot of Aoyama's mom just being like, you could see her eyes are like kind of shaded out and stuff. I guess that's supposed to be the giveaway. But yeah, it just felt weak. The point is, Shinzo has an opportunity now to play an even bigger role in this war. He can have a lot of great moments. I think, personally, what I see him doing is like incapacitating a villain for just long enough to capture them or to defeat them. And what I mean by that is, like, if you've ever watched Naruto, then at the end, spoilers, the final hit landed on Kaguya is from Sakura. It's like she's trying to get away, and Sakura's up top, smacks her down, and then, Naruto and Sasuke are able to seal her, right? I think that's something that Shinzo could easily do. Like, if he just needs to stop someone for a couple of seconds, because I'm assuming that these villains, right? I can't think of, anyone in this league right now that would not be able to break free from his thing immediately. Like, it would just have to be like a split second difference type of thing. But I feel like it's very possible that he can be used that way. Or maybe even, he can use the megaphone or something like that. Maybe there's another upgrade to his quirk that we've yet to see. But two in one arc, maybe not. Maybe he has a Hockey Bloom moment where he's like, I couldn't do this before, but I'm gonna try it now. Maybe. Very, very, very likely with, Final War type of scenarios, right? Everyone just gets power-ups out the wazoo. Next up, we got the Shoto versus Dabi moment, which, you see, now I'm hyped. We're getting the interactions. I don't care too much for, the poster, the billboard of, villains versus heroes. I care about actually seeing how they interact with each other, which was great. Dabi's all excited. He looks like Madara and Hashirama come. This is the last Naruto reference I make on this review, but there's a face that Madara makes when Hashirama pops up to the battlefield in the Final War, and I'm like, that's just Dabi. That's him oh, Shoto, let's get it. And I like the fact that Shoto calls him brother, because it kind of links back to a couple of chapters, or last chapter, I believe, where he's like, I would like to have a drink with him, or and I would like to know what his favorite foods are, type of thing. So it just means that, he's trying to bust his brother up, but at the end of the day, he's going to treat him like his brother and see if he can rehabilitate, because, we got 3 people here now, Uraraka, Deku, and now Shoto, who are all talking about saving these villains rather than just killing them. Bakugo probably wants to lay somebody out. I hope he gets to. I hope Bakugo gets to actually kill someone in this arc. Someone who actually needs to die, though. I don't know who it might be, but, a severe threat that it's no. You gotta go, my dude. And then maybe he feels remorse. I'm speculating right now. Tinfoil's on, but I just think you've got these major characters that are all talking about saving people. Even Ida, his whole thing is saving people because of his brother. So Bakugo's whole thing has just been die. So maybe he gets to kill someone. Maybe he dies. Never know. And it seems like we're gonna get a lot more of these interactions in a 1v1 style. Just going by the setup, right? The whole reveal of Troy, which I thought meant, someone was gonna invade in the stronghold. It happened with that chapter, right? We had the introduction of Troy, the stronghold, plus the introduction of 2 more moles, or 2 moles, 2 people who were sent by AFO to, cause a disturbance from within. But that hasn't panned out. Maybe it'll still come into play. I can see maybe, because we have Fixer quirk that is being used a couple of times this chapter, right? So Monoma might be able to, I don't even know his name, but he might be able to send more heroes, right, into each of these blocks, each of these little prisons that have been made, right? Let's say that you've got Shoto versus Dabi in one bubble, and instead of it being a 1v1, you have the entire Endeavor Fire ability user agency pop up into that, all against Dabi, wash him, no 1v1s for anyone, and then they pop back up, and then they just go around. There's 1v1s to stall, and then whenever they need backup for the heavy hitters, right, they'll just pop in a few heroes, ambush them, work them real quick. I don't think that's going to really happen because, 1, that could get really repetitive and boring really easily, and 2, you don't want to do that with many villains or many heroes, right? Because then it's you want the 1v1s at the end. This is a shonen. Everyone has to have a couple of 1v1s, right? So maybe we get Shoto versus Dabi. Maybe we get Shoto and Endeavor versus Dabi. Don't know how that works out, but, I think we got to see the Endeavor agency, so there's got to be a lot of fire happening, right? Maybe, they have Gigantomachia. They found out a way to make him useful, or utilize him, Don't know how they would do that, because it seems like he only takes commands from AFO or Shigaraki. So I doubt that. But maybe, never know. This is the last war. I'm just happy to see AFO, get his shit rocked. Or, at least get surprised. That was the whole thing coming into this, was you gotta beat this man at chess. He's the best chess player. No matter what we do, he's already seen past our move. But we have an opportunity here to get the one up on him. And the first 3 moves, right? You got Troy, you got Monoma, and then you have Shinzo. These are 3 moves back to back to back that have taken him by surprise. Whether it matters in the long run, debatable. We saw this whole Troy thing And the last thing I was gonna make a note of is Shigaraki almost just ending it all right there. Like, doesn't matter how strong this Troy shit is. If that man can touch the floor, he can make it all disappear. He has no reason to not be able to do that. Maybe he has less control. You know, maybe that's the reason why he doesn't do it right now. But it seems like he was ready to. Like, he was right next to his boys, about to pop off and disintegrate everything in front of him. So, never know. I just can't wait to see Shigaraki make his move, because you know Deku's going to be right there, right? I cannot imagine a scenario where Shigaraki makes a move, actually kills a hero, or has enough time to kill a hero before Deku can step in. You know, like I would assume that the second Shigaraki makes a move, Deku's right there. It's like hand in hand. And then whatever the hell AFO's doing, I don't know who the hell is going to fucking fight him, right? Like, you have two of them on the battlefield now, and they're like in sync with each other. So can Deku handle both? Is it going to be Deku and Bakugo? Like, who is actually going to handle AFO while Shigaraki's being fought? Don't know. Those matchups, I'm not too sure. Those matchups, sorry, I'm not too sure about. So, I don't know why I did quotes. I think to let you know what word I was correcting there. I don't know. And the last thing I obviously want to mention is the MVP of the chapter. Not Shinzo, it was a close second, but it's Monoma. The #1 copycat hero, of course. He's here to save the day, to bring all the troops in. He's doing a lot of work, man, and I like it a lot because his character arc could have easily been dark. It was sad in the end, right? Like, we still have the whole, like, I have a perk that makes me a side character, not a protagonist, and, you know, he's able to use it like a protagonist, which is cool. You know, I'm gonna miss him getting beat up. Maybe we do get one more of those at the end where he's like, yo, I saved your asses. Like, I'm actually better than anyone in Class 1A. Like, we can get that at the end, but, you know, it's good that his character isn't just doing that anymore. We have, you know, his character arc is, you know, both established, right? Like, he didn't have an arc before, right? He was just an asshole. So, established and completed in a really nice way, I think. You know, there's not much more for him to do, right? Other than die. That's like that's what every character can do. Like, once they like redeem themselves or like make themselves lovable, is they can just die after that. Or, you know, maybe you transfer to 1A. This is all spin foil shit again, but I think I really like this. I liked seeing this guy who had such a shield up, if you will, open up, you know, and be like, actually, I've never been told I'd be the hero, the protagonist. Opening up to Aizawa, it seems, right? Or, you know, vampire guy, forget his name, but opening up right then and there and being like, I'm gonna get this done, because I now have the chance to be the main character here, or to play a major role like a main character. So, because we know he's not the main character, but really good stuff. I really enjoyed both of these chapters. Sucks One Piece is on break, but you know, we've always got Twitter drama for those break weeks, and maybe I put out a video on Tuesday about One Piece. Maybe I put out a theory or something this week. Who knows? Stay tuned. Either way, my name is Weekly Shonen. It's been great. You have a beautiful day. Enjoy these chapters, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Be safe.